Okay, Shavua Tov, everyone. I'm sorry that last week we weren't able to have the class, but Baruch Hashem, we're back. Okay, we're going to be looking at Parashat Vayechi, which is the last parsha of Sefer Bereshit, and we are opening up to chapter 49, verse 28. So if someone could find the page and let everyone know where to find it. Okay. So we have to give a bit of the context, which is, just one second, I'm going to open up also so I can read it from inside. Let's see, just one second. So the context is that Yaacov Avinu is at the end of his life, and the majority of the parsha, or this chapter 49, is basically all of the blessings that Yaakov Avinu gives his children on his deathbed. So, verse 28, if you look in the psukim before, in the verses before, you see Yaakov has just finished going through each one of his sons, son by son, one after the other, giving them their blessing, their individual blessing, and then comes the following summarizing sentence. And that's our verse. And this is the pasuk that we are going to see the Midrash on, a few Midrashim on, and it says the following. Okay, and this is we're going to read just this verse, and this is the verse we're going to be asking questions on. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their fathers spoke to them and blessed them, each man according to his blessing, he blessed them. Again, let's read it again and let's think of questions. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their fathers spoke to them and blessed them. Each man according to his blessing, he blessed them. Questions? What? Okay, you're right that he did give blessings also to Ephraim. He gave blessings to Ephraim and to Manasseh as well, so that should be 13. But if we wanted to get away with a technicality, I would say right now he's talking about his actual children, right? He says, and this is what their father, right? So although you're right that there is another tribe, but okay, but I guess obviously right now he's talking just to his direct sons. And if you look in the verses that came right before this verse, you'll see that as he goes through the individual sons, he's just talking to his actual sons. And beforehand, at the beginning of the parsha, he also gave a blessing to Ephraim and Manasseh. Batya, what were you going to say? So he's saying that the verse seems to be emphasizing the fact that Yaakov Avinu's blessings are not just random, things that he hopes will happen to them, but he's able to kind of capture their essence and identify it and bless them that they will be able to realize their potential. I agree 100%. Agree 100%. Any questions that anyone sees? Anything difficult in the language? Anything difficult in the phrasing? Yes. Okay. Okay. So you're pointing out the difficulty. You're pointing out the difficulty of the use of the term shevet, which is tribe, right? So basically, you're saying, why does it mention tribe? Is he blessing the tribe, which basically there's no tribe yet. Right now, there's just 12 sons. So he's saying, so why is it pointing out tribes? So if this is blessing the future tribe that will come, the descendants of them, then okay. But then you go and you come and say, each man, right? So it starts off by saying the tribe, right? All these are the 12 tribes of Israel. And then it goes on to say, their father spoke to them and blessed them, each man. So is this a blessing to the tribe? Is this a blessing to the actual individual son standing before them? Excellent question. Other questions? Yes. Okay, so excellent, which I'm not sure we're going to be able to get to it, but there are several midrashim that touch upon this duality. The duality being, what does it mean when it says, their father spoke to them and blessed them? Is that one and the same? Is the blessing the content of what he spoke? Or are there two different things here? There's what he spoke to them and what he blessed them. Because otherwise, why do you need two phrases? So, excellent question, which we will regretfully not be able to touch upon. But if you look in the Midrash, you'll see that the Midrash speaks about it. Because it definitely is, it is a question that is, it's there. It's yes. Other questions, other problems with the phrasing. So you wait. So what's your question? Right. Okay. So Oleg is half asking, half making an observation, which is that unlike until now, the last three generations, there was one child who was given the blessing, a blessing or the blessing, which represented the continuity of the Jewish people. And over here, so I guess it's a half question, half observation, that over here, not only is it not, one person who is being identified as the successor and continuation, rather it seems to be very, very emphasized that every single one of them is getting a blessing, and every single one of them is getting their blessing. So I guess, is this, a change? What is the significance? I guess if I were to be forced to, Oleg, to put what you're saying into a question, what is the significance of the fact that it's not just that one person it's not just one person getting a blessing, is that every single one of them is getting their own blessing. And what is the significance of that? We will absolutely touch upon that. Before we actually go into the Midrash, anyone else have any questions? I'm still looking for one. For a big one. Yes. So he's saying, what does it mean when it says He blessed them, each man according to his blessing. What does that mean? What is the other option? I'm going to bless you with someone else's blessing. If I'm blessing you with a blessing, then it's your blessing. How can I bless you with someone else's blessing? The moment I bless you with it, it's your blessing. So what does that mean? Right? Excellent question. Yes, and yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a little bit more. Yeah. He's saying that he gave them, going back to what Batya said, which is he gave each one a blessing that was the right blessing for him, a blessing that was appropriate for who that person was. Absolutely excellent. I want to point out one more question which is very similar but still distinct. Look at the phrasing. Yes. Okay, so I have to, regretfully, I have to repeat what you said. I say regretfully because I really want to answer you already. What was said, just for those who are listening in, is that this, why is this even called a blessing? It doesn't seem to be a blessing. Yaacov isn't saying to them, I hope that you will be successful, or, good luck in the future, happiness and good wealth and good fortune, or whatever. It doesn't seem to be a blessing. He's kind of like identifying for each one, this is who you are. And my retort to that is, maybe we misunderstand what a blessing is. Meaning we assume that a blessing is, I wish upon you this good thing. Right? Maybe that is not what a blessing, at least in the Torah, is at all. Maybe think about it. If someone comes into, this is a little off topic, but it's important, so I'm gonna jump on it. Imagine that someone comes to you and says to you, I want to tell you, you're probably wondering, in your whole life you've wondered, what are you actually capable of, what are you not capable of, who are you really, what is your true self? Let me tell you, I have a message from God. This is who you are. This is what you're capable of. Can you think of a greater blessing than that? Nothing. There's nothing greater, I think. No greater gift a person can get by being than it being revealed to him who he is and what his potential is. Think about how much of the difficulties we have in our lives comes from the fact of uncertainty of who we are, what we're capable of, what we can be successful at. So I would come and say that the way we understand blessing maybe is not the one which is what is meant by the Torah. Okay, let's put that on the side, but right. Yes. Okay. Yes, there's another question or comment. I see a finger up. No, wait. I'm not so sure. Meaning, I think that I don't know. I have to think. I mean, the question was, doesn't this idea of isn't it like cheating? You find out early on what your path is, and isn't part of our job in this world to kind of figure out who we are, what our potential is. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think that is a very common a very common concept. I'm not sure it has. I'm not saying no. I'm saying I need to think about it. I'm not sure that is a Jewish concept. I'm not saying it's an un-Jewish concept, but meaning I think we like to think, well, we don't know for sure. So part of what life is about is figuring out what you're able, who you are really and what your capabilities are. And as, of course, there isn't necessarily one answer to that. Different stages of our lives. There could be different potentials that we have. I don't know. I need to think on it. But I don't. Nothing comes to mind as from Jewish sources as that is one of the jobs of a person in the world. Okay. Now, I want to point out one more question, and then we're going to delve into the Midrash, which is the language of the pasuk. I think there's something that still that we haven't, that no one kind of stumbled on, but we were very close. It seems to be very repetitive and very redundant. Very redundant. It says the following: all these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father spoke to them and blessed them. It could have stopped here. And then it goes on to say, each man according to his blessing. It could have stopped here. Right? All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father spoke to them and blessed them, each man according to his blessing. But then it goes on to say, again, he blessed them. 3 times in this verse, it says that he blessed them. Why? Right? It is strange. At least one of them seems unnecessary, and you could easily argue that 2 of them are unnecessary. With that in mind, let's go into the Midrash. We're not going to start with the first one. We might get back to it, but it's not as important at the moment. Okay? Says the Midrash. We're looking at the second paragraph. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel. It already says he blessed them. And what does it teach us when it says, each man, according to his blessing, he blessed them? Right? So the Midrash answers. And I want to remind you how we do this, how we've been doing this for years. We look at the answer the commentator gives, in this case the Midrash, and we ask ourselves, is he answering the question? Okay? And how is he answering the question? And the next stage is there anything left open, anything about the answer that doesn't make sense or leads us to another more difficult question? So please keep that in mind. The Midrash answers, since he blessed Yehuda with a lion, Dan with a snake, meaning since he blessed Yehuda was nicknamed or was identified as being similar to a lion, right? Yehuda is like a lion, and Dan with a snake, Naphtali with a deer, Binyamin with a wolf. He returned and included them all as one, and made them lions and snakes. You will know, meaning the Midrash is saying, I will prove this to you, that indeed this is so. Because in Bereshit it says, Dan shall be a serpent, and he also calls him a lion. That is what is said in Devarim, okay, at the end of the Torah. And of Dan, he said, Dan is a lion's cub, to establish what is written in Shir HaShirim, in the Songs of Songs. Your entirety is beautiful, my beloved. There is no blemish in you. Okay, it might sound, I know it might sound very, very strange what the Midrash is saying here, but let's first try to understand. Okay, let's repeat the question. The question was, why does the verse come in after it comes and says that Yaakov blessed all of the 12 tribes? Does it come and say, each man according to his blessing, he blessed them? So, how does the Midrash answer this question? Anyone want to take a shot at it? What is the Midrash saying? Before, how is it answering it? How do you understand what is the Midrash saying? Yes. Yeah. So it's saying that there were two blessings. The first blessing was each one got their individual blessing. And then he came and said, but don't worry, right? It's not just Yehuda who's special, right? It's as if he said like this, Yehuda, you are special, you are like a lion. Dan, whatever that means, that you're like a lion. Dan, you are like a snake. Whatever that means, okay? Binyamin, you are like a wolf. And then he turned to all of them and said, but don't worry, you're all lions as well. You're all snakes as well. Right? I agree. That seems to be what the Midrash is saying. Now, so, did the Midrash answer the question that we had? Why? No, it answered it answered the question, which is, what is the meaning? Why is there a repetition? The answer the Midrash gives is a repetition because there's two blessings. One for each individual, and the second giving all of them, saying, what the blessing I gave each one of you, I'm also giving all of you. So the Midrash answered it. Now, do we have any questions or any difficulties with this answer? Okay, so you're saying that what Yaakov is doing, he's giving blessings that relate to different aspects of their personality, to their body, to their soul, to their psyche, to their nefesh. Okay, I think you're right, and I think when we continue, we'll see. I think we're going to see something very similar to that. I tend to agree. Yes, there was another comment. Excellent. The question that you're asking is, he only gives one proof to the fact that someone got someone else's blessing too. But the difficulty in that source, you're saying the difficulty is, look, so he only brought one proof. But there's a bigger question. The proof that he brings is very difficult. From where is the Midrash proving that Dan also got a blessing of a lion? Right? Dan was blessed as a snake. He says, look, but Dan was also blessed as a lion. From where is that proof taken? No. From Dvarim. Who gave a blessing to Dan in Dvarim? Correct. Moshe. The Midrash is doing something which on its surface doesn't seem logical. It's bringing proof, okay, from someone else, Moshe Rabbeinu, on Moshe Rabbeinu's deathbed. That's the only other time where we see every single tribe getting a blessing. At the end of Yaakov's life, at the end of the book of Bereshit, and again at the end of the Midbar, at the end of the desert, right before the Jewish people go into the land of Israel, right before Moshe Rabbeinu passes away, Moshe Rabbeinu does the same thing. He gathers all of the Jewish people, just like Yaakov did, and he goes through basically every single tribe, giving them a blessing. Now there's a whole world of parshanut and commentary comparing the blessings Yaakov gave to the blessings that Moshe gave, to see in what way are they similar, in what way do they differ. But the Midrash here is doing something very odd. You see what I'm saying? What is difficult about what the Midrash is doing? It's saying how, that Yaakov wants to prove that Yaakov didn't give only Yehuda, or didn't give only each individual their unique blessing, rather gave everyone's blessing. Where does it prove it from? From Moshe Rabbeinu, which is 300 years later, 250 years later. How can Moshe Rabbeinu's blessing serve as a proof for what Yaakov Avinu said? Is the question understood? Okay. Now, I have another difficulty with this Midrash. And it does not come from the text. It comes from my perspective as a Jewish educator. And that is, if indeed the Midrash, we were to take the Midrash at face value, okay, which is that Yaakov turns to Yehuda and says, "You're like a lion." Turns to Dan, says, "You're like a snake." Turns to Naphtali, says, "You're like a deer." And then afterwards he comes and says, "But don't worry, guys, you're all lions. And don't worry, guys, not only Dan is a snake, you all have the characters of a snake." And what does that do? What does that achieve? If I come to you and I say to you, what was that? Someone answered? What does it do to self-esteem? But it diminishes it. Exactly, it diminishes it. It's the famous question of, do you give everyone trophies, participation trophies? Because if I come and say, because Batia, I'll tell you how it diminishes it. I'll tell you how it diminishes it. Because if you ask a question in class, and I say, that is the most brilliant question I've ever heard. And then I turn to the class and say, but don't worry, guys, every single one of you also is the most brilliant student I ever had. Does that make everyone feel better? Or does that make everyone feel like, okay, the blessing, I disagree. I think that it makes, But Batya, remember what we said. We said that these blessings, and you said it, and I agreed, that each of these blessings is supposed to be unique, saying, you, Yehuda, are unique. There's no greater thing a father can say to their child, an educator can say to their student, you, not only are you unique, I'm going to identify your unique quality, what makes you unique. And then you turn to everyone, but don't worry, everyone, you are just as unique, making no one unique, making no one unique. If I come and say, if I come and say to Yehuda, what makes you stand out from everyone is that you have leadership capabilities. And then I turn around while he's standing there, say to everyone, but don't worry, you are all unique because you have leadership qualities. Then if I'm Yehuda, I'm thinking to myself, what are you talking about? You just told everyone that they are unique for being just like me. Those phrases are the opposite. You can't say to someone, you are unique for being, for being named, Jonathan, and then turn to everyone, you are all Jonathan, and that makes all of you unique. Then it's not unique. And by the way, these blessings are being said with everyone in the room. So what is the Midrash trying to do? I want to put, right, yes. What? Okay, so I just want to repeat what Oleg said for those who are listening and couldn't hear what he said. So Oleg, which by the way I'll point out, Oleg, you're being very consistent, okay, with what you said before, which is good. Oleg is going back to come and saying maybe that was the idea, because if Yaakov were to just stay at the point where he comes and says, you are a lion, and you are a wolf, and you are a deer, and that's it, then you open up the can of worms that you're trying to run away from, which is, well, the lion is better than the deer, but the deer is better, you open yourself up. Yaakov then opens the situation up for the fighting to start up again, and for supremacy, and to see who is the best, who is the and therefore who should be the continuation, who is included, who is excluded. So Oleg is saying maybe that was the plan, to come and say, look, so maybe Yehuda, you are a lion, but you're all a little bit like that also, and therefore no one can, but you're all similar, you're all average to some degree, and therefore there's no one who could come and claim that they are better because they're all kind of the same. I think that's Oleg, I like the interpretation. I think that is definitely a logical interpretation of the Midrash, which I think also would fit in nicely, as you said, would fit in nicely with some of the bigger themes of what's happening in these weekly portions of that, with the strife and the tensions are such a common thread. So I absolutely accept that as a possible interpretation. I'm going to do a different one, but I definitely think that works. Yes. Wait, Batya. I'm just afraid that that's going to take us a little off topic, because in this Midrash, at least I'm just afraid of getting off topic, because in this Midrash I don't see anything that would lead us to talk about nefesh, yechida, neshama. So I don't want to get too off topic, and there's still another half of the Midrash which I want us to see. Okay, so I want to try to stay on topic. Right. So let me just repeat what he said, and you're also being consistent with what you said before, which again, I like it. If someone is able to be consistent, that means that it's great. You're saying like this. In our Parsha, Yaakov is talking to his sons, to 12 individual human beings. Okay? But Moshe Rabbeinu, who goes back, who is the one who's saying, oh, Dan is also a lion, right? Moshe Rabbeinu is not speaking to individual people. Moshe Rabbeinu is speaking to tribes. So you're saying, and this is going back to what you said at the beginning, which is the kind of tension or the relationship between, in our verse, between Shevet, tribe, which is a collective, and Ish, which is an individual. So you're saying, yeah, the Midrash is saying, Yaakov is talking to each individual. Yehuda is a lion, Dan is a snake. But when Moshe Rabbeinu is talking to the tribes, well, the tribe of Dan makes sense that within the tribe of Dan, there will be someone or certain people or certain elements within the tribe that are lion-like. Okay? Okay. I think it's a great answer. We have someone else wanted to say something? Excellent point. Excellent point. You're saying if every single one of them really is also a lion, also a snake, also a wolf, also a deer, also a fish, also, then they don't need each other. Then each one of them is absolutely perfect. What you're saying is that you're saying you are a lion, you are a snake, but together you all have it all. So I agree 100%, and that is actually where we're going to end up soon. Okay, and we're going to expound on that a little bit. I want to continue because I still have difficulty with the fact that the Midrash is using the quote from Moshe Rabbeinu to try to prove what Yaakov said. So look how the Midrash continues. This is fascinating. Also from a perspective of methodology, it's absolutely beautiful. The Midrash goes on to say, it doesn't say, and this is what their father Yaakov spoke to them. Rather, their father. Okay, let's look back at the verse. It says, all these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father spoke to them. So the Midrash is saying, I would expect it to say, this is what their father Jacob spoke to them. Why is it saying, father? The Midrash says this sounds vague. Okay? We're not going to harp on the question. Let's see what the Midrash does with this. In the future, meaning it's saying the Midrash is saying, it's alluding to someone else's blessing, a father of the Jewish people who is not Yaakov. Okay? So the Midrash goes on to say, in the future, a person like me will bless you, and he will begin where I left off. Who is he talking about? Moshe. So the Midrash is saying that Yaakov said, in the future, someone like me, says Yaakov, will come and he will bless you as well, and he will start his blessing at the point where I'm leaving off. Now look, as it says, and this is what spoke. And when Moshe, right, it says vizot. In the Hebrew, it works better. In Hebrew, it says kol ele shiftei Yisrael shnemasar vizot. Vizot is a very specific word. And this, okay, it's a stronger word in Hebrew than it is in English. Okay, and this is what spoke. And when Moshe spoke, he began, and this is the blessing. Vizot habracha. So the Midrash is picking up and the language in which Yaakov's blessing ends is the same word that Moshe Rabbeinu's blessing begins with. Now look, and this is the blessing Moshe, the man of Hashem, blessed. Now look at this. He said to them, I will tell you when this Yaakov is saying, I will tell you when these blessings will come upon you, when you accept the Torah. The Midrash is making this up. This isn't in the text itself, but this is what we said. This is what Midrash picks up on word associations and adds in things. The Midrash is saying that Yaakov is saying, I'm leaving my blessing open, and when will my blessings that I'm giving you now actually come to be? When you come to Moshe and you receive the Torah. Now look at this. And in what did Moshe end? Okay, and we don't have time to look at this inside the Midrash, because goes on and shows that the words that Moshe ended his blessing with are the words that David HaMelech started his blessing in Tehillim with. Okay, we don't have time to do the whole thing, but the Midrash is doing something very cool. It's showing a continuity between Yaakov's blessing to his sons, to the blessings of Moshe Rabbeinu to the tribes, and a continuity of David HaMelech's blessings back to individual people. Because if you look at the last sentence of the Midrash, what verse is it quoting from David HaMelech? The first verse in Psalms. Happy or praised is the man. And it's the same language. Okay. Now, I want to explain now I'm going to go what I think the Midrash is doing here, and then I want to take it to kind of a revelation I had from what I took from this Midrash, which I think is a very profound concept. I think what the Midrash is doing here is exactly what Ron said before, which is, I don't think it's coming and saying, you're all the same. And I think it's saying, yes, Yehuda, you are a lion. But it's saying, and if you look carefully at the verse that the Midrash is using to prove that Dan is a lion, what does it say? And of Dan he said, Dan is a lion's cub. I find that very interesting. It doesn't say that Dan is a lion. It says that he's a lion's cub. What's the difference between a lion and a lion's cub? Lion's cub is a baby, but also he is the descendant of the lion. What makes him a lion, what defines a cub as a cub, is that his father is a lion, or his parents are lions. Who is Dan's father that is a lion? Yehuda. Meaning I think what it's saying, I want to point out one more thing. And then soon you'll see where I'm going with this. Let's look back at the Midrash, the first Midrash that we were looking at. The last sentence says, to establish what is written, your entirety is beautiful, my beloved. There's no blemish in you. Who is it talking to? Who is the you that Shir HaShirim is talking about that is perfect? The collective of the Jewish people. Your entirety, meaning the entire nation of Israel, is beautiful. There's no blemish in you. Okay? So I think it is exactly what Ron was saying, which is what makes the Jewish collective perfect is the fact that Yehuda is a lion, Dan is a snake, but each one of them looks to the other for the quality of being a lion and a leader, or for the quality of being strong, for the quality of being wise. And it's coming and saying, yes, you are a unique individual with unique abilities that makes you stand out and special. Recognize your uniqueness, fulfill your potential. And it's coming and saying, and look at the person next to you and know that he is unique as well, and it is okay that you do not have his quality, and if you want his quality, it comes from being together with him. Only within your entirety are you perfect. And I think and I think that this is the idea that I find to be very profound, and I think extremely missing from the cultural discourse today, where we have this, we've kind of, I don't know if it's just pop culture or in more than just pop culture, the feeling of, or the concept of, that if there's something that we have a need to feel that we are perfect, and we have a need to make people feel that there is nothing missing, nothing that makes them not perfect. You are perfect. We hear this all the time. You are perfect just the way you are. And Yaacov is saying, you are not perfect just the way you are. You have one quality. There's something that makes you not perfect. You're not perfect. Only by being with other people, only by recognizing what you do not have, only by recognizing in what way you are lacking, and being okay with that, and not making believe that you are perfect, recognizing that someone else has a uniqueness that you do not have, and not be jealous of them, or not think that, no, that's not important. We're living in a culture that tries to make people feel that if there's something about me that is missing, or if you point out, or if someone says that something about me is not perfect, then that means I'm worthless. That means that, and I think the idea over here comes and says, you on your own are not perfect, and you on your own are never going to be perfect. But there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine. Do you know where you find perfection? Within the collective. By understanding that you are not everything and all things. And by, as Ron said, by leaning on other people, but it's not even leaning, by recognizing that I am not on my own. And I should not be looking at myself on my own. On my own, I am not perfect. And if I'm bombarded as a child or as an adult by a culture that says to me, you're perfect, just the way you are, just be yourself and everything will be fine. Just accept yourself the way you are, and we have an entire culture, especially for young people, that bombards them with this message that you're perfect, just be true to who you are, and that's all you need to do, and you're perfect just the way you are. Says Yaacov, no. You're perfect by being part of a collective and recognizing that different people have different abilities, different qualities, and if you are together with them as a collective, you will find the blessing that you will be able to benefit, and you will be able to absorb those other qualities that you do not have on your own. And I think there's something extremely powerful in that, and very realistic. And I think there's tremendous difficulty that people have today, especially young people, but all people, in accepting that I am not enough on my own. I am not perfect as I am, but it's okay because there are other people around me who do have those things that I'm lacking. And if you understand that you are not just an individual, but you are part of a collective entity, in this case, the Jewish people, then yes, I am perfect because I am part of a nation. And I think, taking it even one step further, the idea that Moshe Rabbeinu comes and says, or that the next Midrash says, and you know when you will really be able to benefit from all the blessings that everyone has? When you accept the Torah, meaning when you accept that you are all one people together, committed towards a common goal. And once you have a concept of we are all one family, our destinies are connected because we have a goal, we have a destiny, we have a job, we have a common identity and goals. Then it comes to say, okay, I on my own am not enough, but it's fine because I have a family, I have a community, I have a nation. And that's what it goes back and saying. And I know that I've kind of like gone way up and kind of blown it a little bit out of proportion, but I think it fits. I think it could be seen as the deeper understanding of what actually the Midrash is saying. Because if you look at it again in the middle of the Midrash, you will know that indeed this is so. Dan shall be a serpent, and he calls him a lion. That is what is said. And of Dan, he says Dan is a lion's cub, to establish what is written, meaning this establishes what is written. Your entirety is beautiful, my beloved. There is no blemish in you. Who's you? The Jewish people as a whole. And I think it is a very powerful idea that we do not need to be all things. We are all things being part of a collective that has a common goal, common destiny, common obligation, common identity. So I know I kind of went, kind of like out of proportion, but I think that could explain the reason of why back in the original verse, it comes and says, he blessed them. Each one according to his blessing, he blessed them. You are unique as part of a collective. And as part of a collective, your uniqueness creates perfection, but only because you are part of something greater than yourself. If it's just about you and everyone and trying to feel like I'm perfect just the way I am, and then you discover that you're not, and that I think this is at the root of many of the cultural difficulties and challenges that we find, and super sensitivities and difficulties that young people have. But I think it is at the core of a lot of the challenges we find to people being oversensitive and people not being offended by every little thing, because we're constantly being bombarded with just be the perfect person that you are and everything will be fine. That's all you need to be. And I think this is a very different idea that the Midrash is trying to send based on the verse. Now, I apologize. I usually don't go on rants that are this long. But if anyone has a question or a disagreement or a comment on it, I'm very happy to hear. So for that, you would have to look at the verse and see. Yaacov doesn't just say you're a lion. Yaacov goes and he gives a few examples of the characteristics of a lion as they are expressed in Yehuda. So in that case, it talks about him as a leader. I guess the lion as the king of the jungle, something of that sort, or the bravery of a lion, and the bravery of Yehuda, which of course we've seen in the last few weeks that Yehuda indeed is a leader, and he indeed is very brave, and of course we see this later on throughout Jewish history that Yehuda's tribe takes leadership roles throughout all of Jewish history and feats of bravery. And so, if you look at each one of the verses, in some of the verses it's more explicit what of the animal's character is the human character that goes with it. And some of the verses it's more explicit, and some it doesn't detail it as much. And then if you look in the commentators, you'll see how they explain the animal's characteristic as they're embodied in human traits. Is there a difference between being perfect and being sufficient? So saying that it's important to have the message of not of perfection, but of being. It's enough. I am enough, and I don't need to constantly be thinking that I'm not enough. I guess I would agree, but I guess I'd agree. But I think the message that the Midrash is trying to give here is that yes, an individual is not perfect and never will be. The place in which a person, an individual, finds their perfection, is within a community, within a collective, by understanding that they are unique and they have something unique to contribute, but they on themselves, I agree with what he's saying, and is not enough. And they need to rely on others and pool in other people's talents for a greater goal, which transcends their identity, which transcends their unique character. They are not enough because there are greater goals in the world than just an individual's needs, wants, and aspirations. And the way in which those are achieved is by being part of a collective, because there are things, and that's the second part of the Midrash, which is, when is this fulfilled? When we accept Torah, when we accept that we are part of a collective with a greater destiny that transcends my individual wants and needs, and that also is something which is so lacking from today's modern or even postmodern world. And with that, we conclude. I agree. Being part of a collective does not mean being uniform. Okay, Shavua Tov, everyone. Just one last thing. As of now, Alex, can you hear me? As of now, I'm assuming that there is going to be a class next week. Unless you tell me, I guess ask around if there's going to be a lot of people away, I don't know, because of New Year's or because of winter break. But right now, I'm going to go under the assumption that there is a class next Sunday. Oh. What?